Pretty Girl Club. So, a lot of you have been wanting me to speak on a fellow exotical. This woman, I think her YouTube channel is called like the Trophy Wife Life or something along those lines, or it was called that. One thing I want to say is women love to see the pretty girl suffer with men. So, I want to do some commentary on this. It's not going to be from the same perspective that everybody is thinking. But I've noticed one of the biggest talking points that they're trying to use right now against this woman is basically that she is socially a dumbass and that she's just such an idiot and that, she didn't take Shira Seven's advice properly. And then they're also blaming Shira Seven, who literally doesn't even know any of these people. She's literally a content creator. So it's like, how emotionally codependent are you to the point where you are literally blaming content creators for the behaviors of men? The man is the villain in this scenario. For those of you who don't know, this woman's children got SA'd by this woman's husband. I guess she was one of those hypergamous queens or whatever, that type of content. So this channel, this is more of a decentering men channel. This is not a hypergamy channel, but I also don't shame women who prefer to date a man with money. That's really not what I care about. What I care about is how people react to MLS women being abused. And one of the main talking points that people are giving her is the same thing that black men say, which is essentially, well, shoulda chose better. And it's like, when are people going to realize that there is no such thing as choosing better? Because men know how to manipulate. They can manipulate their behaviors. Basically, you cannot control what a man does when you're not around. And I'm not saying that you can't do any vetting at all, but what I am saying is there is no such thing as a perfect vetting process, okay? So all of those people who are talking so much shit about this content creator, basically implying that she's just a dumbass and she's just bad at vetting, well, what is your vetting process, sis? Because all of these women who have so much shit to talk, they have no strategies to offer. They have no solutions to offer. So this is why I say that a lot of the black feminism spaces, a lot of the black empowerment spaces, a lot of those women, it's literally just social shaming of whatever woman they feel has more social privilege than them. And so this woman is an example of that. All they have to say to this woman is basically, oh, well, should have chose better. Oh, well, you were too much of a dumbass. You didn't take Shira Seven's advice. Oh, you messed it up. Oh, you weren't good enough at being hypergamous. Oh, you weren't good enough at attracting the right man. Oh, you weren't good enough at vetting. Nobody is actually calling out the man on his behavior. All of the smoke is just focused on the woman. And then they're basically saying, oh, well, Shira Seven is the villain. Or like this woman in the photo is the villain, the mother of the children. So why is it that whenever the black community of women online are talking about something, somehow the MLS women are always the villain? Every single time. So no smoke for the actual child molester. No smoke for the way that society as a whole protects men when it comes to issues like this. Oh no, the enemies in this story are literally a content creator and the mother of the children who got SA'd. And I was actually planning on doing a series about this. One thing that I've noticed in a lot of black female spaces is that a lot of black women actually enjoy seeing MLS women being abused. And the reason that I say that is because if you look at the audience of shows like Love and Hip Hop, Basketball Wives, Baddies, a lot of those shows, Real Housewives, those shows are revolving around MLS women in a lot of cases. And usually those TV shows feature MLS women getting drinks thrown on them, getting beat up, or getting cheated on. So this is one of the main things that black women love to watch. Look at Kane. Kane is another light-skinned woman who is literally being abused by an unambiguous black man. I don't see them talking about black femicide now. Also, I just checked this woman's channel. The channel with the highest amount of views, the video with the highest amount of views, is literally the video of her talking about her children getting SA'd. And this is mainly black women that are watching this video because black YouTube is talking about this. I don't see white women on YouTube talking about this woman's story. So that is definitive proof that the black community enjoys watching MLS children and women being abused. We see this pattern all throughout media. We see women like Kane becoming popular, Krishan Rock, just basically anyone that's in a toxic relationship, any pretty girl who is getting her ass beat, any pretty girl whose children are being assaulted. That's what the black community wants to see. And instead of actually having critical thinking skills, they want to find a scapegoat who is another MLS woman, Shira Seven, and they want to blame her. They only care about black femicide if the black woman is dark-skinned. and has 4C hair and more broad African features. They don't actually care about black femicide if she's half black or if she's, racially ambiguous looking or if she's quote unquote light skinned black. Then all of that goes out of the window. All of the empathy goes out of the window. It's her fault for being too much of a dumbass and not knowing how to properly social climb. It's Shira 7's fault, even though Shira 7 has no idea who these people even are. It's Shira 7's fault for creating YouTube content. How dare you get on YouTube and make live streams, Shira 7? How dare you come on here and make YouTube content that doesn't teach every single nuance of dealing with men? And that's another thing. Do you see how codependent the black female community is? They're so emotionally codependent to the point where they're looking to a YouTuber to teach them everything they need to know about men. They're looking to YouTubers and content creators to teach them all of the nuances of dating, all of the nuances of narcissism. Why is it that light-skinned women are always the therapists of the black community? Has anybody ever noticed that? Why is the black community always depending on some random light-skinned woman content creator to be their therapist? Seriously. So it's like, okay, you have no empathy for women who are suffering. You enjoy watching TV shows and TikToks and social media accounts of mixed race or light-skinned women being abused. But then on top of that, you also want to get mad at the light-skinned women for not teaching you enough information about the nature of men, or for not teaching you enough about how to deal with men. And also, has anyone else noticed a trend on YouTube where all the light-skinned women are trending topics? All the light-skinned women are the leaders. In a lot of cases, it's the more light-skinned women, it's the ambiguous women, it's the mixed-race black women who are literally leading the charge in talking about all aspects of feminism, whether it's decentering men, whether it's hypergamy, even when it comes to being a trad wife. You've got the majority of black women following people like Nara Smith. So that's another pattern that we need to talk about, because if you think that mixed race or light-skinned women are such dumbasses and, Shira 7 gives bad advice and Princella's advice is bad and whatever I say on my channel is bad, okay, so then where is your platform? Because why are you looking to other women to be your representation? It is not Shira 7's responsibility to teach you how to be a mentally and emotionally healthy, functioning human being. It is also not her responsibility to teach about every single aspect of the male species. That's ridiculous. The fact that you put her on such a high pedestal, that's insane to me. Like, if anything, this just proves how high of a pedestal Shira 7 is actually on in this case. So let's start off by giving Shira 7 her props, number one. But I just find it insane that people will prop up all of these random light-skinned women. They'll prop up all of these women who benefit from colorism, texturism, featureism. In fact, they will even shame those women, or they will say, you don't have it the same, or it's not as bad for you because you're not going through all three of the isms at the same time. So they'll prop up these women that don't even look like them. They'll prop up these women with different life experiences. Then they will turn around and laugh at women who get abused, such as this woman whose kids got essayed, and then on top of that, they will also shame you for not doing enough for them. So, Shira 7, it's not enough that you created over 2,000 live stream videos trying to help mainly black women. That's really her main audience. So, no, sorry, Shira, that's actually not enough. On top of that, you should have also done a deep dive into the psychology of the entire male species, and you should have also taught about sociology and narcissism and all of these other mental health things. So instead of just being a hypergamous content creator and a finance content creator and doing 2,000 videos, Shira 7 also is now required to be a professional therapist and a professional sociologist as well. And she is supposed to specialize in the nature of men. So do you see how whenever you are perceived as the leader of a community, the expectations and the standards that people put on you, they're so much higher. And I'm not even a hypergamous type of content creator. Like I said, I have my own lane here on YouTube. But I just think that this is a good case study at how a lot of black women react to black adjacent women, or, the privileged black women, the light-skinned ones or whatever. This is a good case study on how black women react within their own community. So it's like, okay, I'm going to drag you down and I'm going to shame you, but at the same time, I expect you to pull me up by your coattails. And I expect you, Shira 7, to basically be my online version of a mommy. And I expect you to teach me everything that my black mother didn't teach me. A lot of these women, they're actually looking to content creators to be their mothers. Okay, they have mommy issues, they have daddy issues. A lot of these women come from broken homes. And so they're putting these content creators on such a high pedestal to the point where if somebody happens to be subscribed, you could just be a subscriber to somebody like Shira7, or you could be a subscriber to me, and people are going to just automatically bring smoke to you because that's how high of a pedestal they put that content creator on. They're treating content creators as gods. And this is actually a sign of emotional codependency. So this aligns with my psychological theory that I talk about on this YouTube channel all the time, which is that a lot of women who feel like they're at the bottom in the Black community, a lot of those women are actually very emotionally codependent. So codependent to the point where they literally depend on content creators to steer and direct them in life. They can't even make their own decisions. They have to literally consult with YouTube before they can make their own life decisions. If that's not an external locus of control, I don't know what is. And also, when are Black women going to realize that two things can be true at the same time? So a man can have money and he can also be dusty. A man can be loving towards you or want to provide for you and also be a liar. So even when it comes to vetting, there's no way to control how much a man lies. So I feel like people that use that vetting talking point, that's really just another variation of what Black men say in the red pill space, which is, oh, shoulda chose better. You shouldn't have got with Pookie and Ray Ray. So they only do that talking point, though, with light-skinned women, I've noticed. They only do that talking point with the Black women that they perceive as being more privileged than them. They don't tell Jodie Turner-Smith when she got cheated on by that dusty white guy. They didn't say that to her. They didn't say, oh, well, she should have chose better. No, they were just silent. But anytime it's a woman who's perceived as benefiting from colorism, texturism, or featureism, or she happens to be mixed race, then suddenly they want to pull out the same red pill talking points from their Black male counterparts, and then suddenly say, oh, well, too bad, you were just too much of a dumbass. You don't know how to social climb properly, so, oh, well, it's your fault your kids got SA'd. But if we were to respond in that same way against unambiguous dark-skinned Black women who literally come from some of the most broken homes in history, then suddenly we would be called colorist, texturist, and featurist. So do you see the hypocrisy? So there's this hypocrisy, but then there's also the extreme pedestalization of MLS content creators in particular. Why is nobody blaming? I mean, I'm sure there are some dark-skinned Black women who talk about hypergamy or relationships or vetting. Why are there no people who are like telling those women that they should teach more about the nuances of men? Or like, how to vet men? Why is nobody holding the dark-skinned Black women content creators accountable for not teaching mixed race women how to vet men? So do you see how that same role, like when you reverse the roles, it doesn't actually exist? The accountability doesn't exist for dark-skinned Black women. It only exists if you are a woman who receives any form of privilege in the Black community. And that is something that the unambiguous Black YouTube space will never address. This is why a lot of content creators are too afraid to address the exotical community. It's because they cannot handle the smoke. They can't handle the smoke of our talking points. And this is a perfect example of hating a certain demographic of women while simultaneously wanting to ride their coattails and learn from them at every turn. If you look at some of the top YouTube creators in the Black female space, these are mainly women who benefit from an ism. I mean, if you look at the Black empowerment space, a lot of that is dying out. The pro-Black women spaces, kind of these Black hotep spaces, a lot of those content creators are dying out. Their views are going down. Their subscribers are plateauing. And then we've got people saying, oh, well, Shira7's content is not for the average everyday woman. Okay, so describe the average everyday woman. Who are you talking about? Just admit that you believe the average everyday woman is a dark-skinned, Black, unambiguous woman, usually of middle or lower class income, who has a couple of kids. So you guys are exposing your own internalized anti-Blackness at every turn because you're literally equating being average and everyday with Blackness. And then they're saying, oh, well, Shira7 is teaching women how to be narcissists. Like, you can't have any feelings or emotions. You have to basically be detached from men. Well, isn't that funny how suddenly they have these moral codes and, suddenly narcissism is bad when Shira is talking about narcissistic qualities. But it's not bad if dark-skinned Black women are talking about the same qualities. Do you know how many unambiguous Black women come on here talking about Oshun and all this other spiritual shit? And how, like, you should just, use dark feminine energy and witchcraft and juju and voodoo and whatever it is you need to use so that you can get what you want. So I don't see the same women giving smoke to the spiritual content creators. They seem to just dislike the fact that this woman was openly promoting Shira 7 and that Shira 7's advice worked for her for a little while. I'm not saying it worked the whole time, obviously, but there were certain aspects of Shira's advice where in this content creator's case it worked for her in the beginning. But also with the whole SA thing, when did Shira 7 say that men are not going to SA women? Like, when did she say that men can't be molesters? Like, I don't see why they're randomly blaming Shira. Like I said, they're literally just mad because that woman was openly saying on her channel, I love Shira 7. It's almost as if a lot of black women simply don't like to see solidarity amongst women who have similar phenotypes that are different than their own. It's very similar to how they react to the exotical space. They don't like seeing women who benefit from isms coming together, having their own communities, and then finding any modicum of success. And so when they saw that with this woman, talking about being a trophy wife and how she went from being a single mother to a trophy wife or whatever, and then she mentioned Shira 7, it almost seemed like they got mad because they knew that none of Shira 7's advice would work for them at all, ever. And so it's almost like their reaction to her is kind of like, I'm glad to see that she's suffering now because, I could have never had access to that kind of money anyway, so at least she got what she deserved, basically, which was her children being SA'd. It's very similar to how they reacted to Cassie. Remember when the Cassie and Diddy thing happened and then people were like, well, she was a social climber. She was trying to chase clout. It wasn't just black men saying that. It was black women saying that as well. In fact, YouTuber Ostefco made a video saying that she was glad that she didn't have pretty privilege because then she gets to be protected from predators. So it's almost like a way of one-upping the pretty girl saying, I get protected from predators because I don't look like you. Like, I don't have daughters that look like yours, so we are somehow more protected from predators. And obviously that's not true. And we all know that whenever you're in one of these hypergamous relationships where the man is completely providing for you and stuff, obviously we know that those are codependent relationships, but I actually don't think that Shira 7 promotes codependency because she does talk about owning your own business, which this woman does own her own business, by the way. She is a content creator. So if she has a monetized YouTube channel, she has an online business. So people saying that like, oh, well, too bad she did it wrong. Well, technically she didn't do that part wrong because she still has a brand and a business. And now her brand is getting more notoriety. But she technically was not codependent, financially at least. Or it doesn't seem that way if her channel is monetized. Now, she could have been emotionally codependent on the man the same way that black women are emotionally codependent on light-skinned women to lead them to the promised land. Why is there always a mixed or light-skinned woman leading a charge or leading a movement, not just on YouTube, but also off of YouTube? Historically, civil rights movement. And now you got the online decentering men content. You got the exotical space. You got the hypergamy space. I find it interesting how these black women are talking so much shit about a woman who is supposed to be a member of the black community, right? She's supposed to be a fellow black woman, right? But they're talking so much shit about her. And they're talking about her codependency while completely ignoring their internalized codependency on content creators, such as Shira 7. Because the fact that you're blaming Shira 7 for a random person that she doesn't even know, that's incredible codependency. You're basically saying, my success or failure in life hinges upon a content creator. If that's not codependency and parasocial behavior, I don't know what is. That's the most extreme external locus of control I think that I've ever witnessed here on YouTube. And I will say that, this is why I create content from more of a decentering men perspective. Any of my positive content about men is going to be behind a paywall because I refuse to put men on a pedestal publicly in any way. Not with my business, not with this community. But men will come into your life looking for you to be their employee. Men want you to be their slave, okay? Generally speaking. So either you're going to be his sex slave, you're going to be his domestic slave, or you're going to be his financial slave and give him a 50% discount on his bills. So he will get to upgrade his lifestyle off of your back. Because generally speaking, women have more domestic skills than men. So not only is he getting a 50% discount on bills, but he's also getting access to your domestic skills, your decorating skills, your emotional availability. You're able to build him up. You're able to validate him. So you're over here healing his PTSD and healing his emotional wounds with your simple presence. And then on top of that, he also gets a discount on all of his bills. So this is why I create content that's more so based on decentering men. But at the same time, I do feel like people have to be realistic, because I also believe that decentering men exists on a spectrum. Okay, so I still consider hypergamy to be on the decentering men spectrum, because in order to successfully be hypergamous, you have to eliminate 90% of the male population from your dating pool. That's extremely decentered, because you're literally cutting off access to 90% of men. And the reason I say that you're eliminating 90% of men is because around 90% of men make less than $100,000 per year. Okay, so if you want to practice hypergamy or whatever, usually the women who practice hypergamy, generally speaking, a lot of them are educated themselves. A lot of them have their own careers going for them. So yeah, you're already eliminating 90 to 95% of men in general. And then if you want a guy who's tall on top of that, or maybe he has no kids, you are definitely on the decentering men spectrum, in my opinion. So I think in terms of spectrums. I don't think of things as like black and white. Like, oh, well, Shira Seven's male-centered and this woman was just male-centered. I mean, I think that it just kind of depends on the person. Like, you technically don't know their emotional and mental state. Because I've noticed another weapon that people use against mixed race or pretty privileged women. One of the weapons they'll use against you is that you're male-centered. What they really mean is you simply get male attention, or you simply get more male attention than them. So suddenly the argument becomes, oh, well, you're just male-centered. Or like if you talk about hypergamy or gold digging or whatever, oh, well, you're just male-centered. It's like, no, she's just utilizing her privilege that she has with men to make it benefit her. So why is it that when she does it, it's male-centered, but if unambiguous dark-skinned black women do it with white men in the divestment movement, oh, then it's just reparations. They literally call it reparations. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.